On March 13th, 2025, Netflix dropped a 4-part series titled Adolescence, and within just 2 weeks, this show is already breaking records from left to right. From dominating the charts to pulling in insane viewership numbers, this show has already cemented itself as one of Netflix's standout shows of the year. But what is the show exactly about? The show tells the story of 13-year-old Jaime Miller, who is arrested for unaliving his classmate, Katie. Rather than centering the whole show about the mystery of the murder, like who did it, because we know early on that Jaime is responsible for it, the show focuses on why it happened. From cyberbullying to knife crime and the dark corners of the internet that is filled with misogyny and incel culture, Adolescence doesn't just tell a story. It forces us to confront the uncomfortable realities that young people face today. The character Jaime Miller is fictional, but the boys and men he represents, unfortunately, they're not. After binging the show in like about 2 days-ish, maybe 3 days, I just had one question. How much of Jaime's story is already happening offline? Because I've already heard of the manosphere, I've heard of alpha males, incels, all that type of stuff, but I never dug deeper. So I went down a rabbit hole, and honestly, I wish that I didn't, because I can't unsee it now. The toxic ideology that warped Jaime is not fiction. It's the manosphere, a digital underworld that's radicalizing boys and men and putting real women in danger. And after watching hundreds of hours of the manosphere content, I truly understand why this pipeline is so dangerous. So let's break it down, starting off with what is the manosphere? And hopefully by the end of this video, we can answer this question. How does the manosphere turn lonely boys or young men into violent men? And why are women paying the price? Let's get into this video. Yeah. Part 1. What is the manosphere? So I wanted to start with the question on Instagram that I asked you guys just to gauge your knowledge on this topic. So on Instagram, I asked, how familiar are you with the manosphere? So 58% of you guys said you never heard it, which I'm actually surprised about. I did not expect the number to be this high, but good thing I'm making this video. Anyways, 30% said I've seen some content, which is like myself. Prior to making this video, I've seen the content, but not really seen it. Like I would see clips of it on TikTok or Instagram or people reacting to it, but I didn't see the actual content itself. Then 11% said I know a lot about it, and then 1% said y'all been in those spaces. Oh. Anyways, thank you all for participating in this poll. Clearly it seems like a lot of you don't know about the manosphere, so we're gonna break it down in today's video. If you want to be part of future poll discussions, you can check me out on Instagram, nk's with 2 Ds, and we can kiki it up there. But anyways, let's keep going with this video. The manosphere is a growing web of online spaces where men come together to share their frustrations, seek advice, and vent about their struggles, whether that's about relationships, society, or just life in general. But here's the thing. While it's often labeled as a place for solidarity and for brotherhood, many see it as a breeding ground for toxic ideas fueled by resentment and hatred targeted towards women. The movement's rise coincides with the explosion of the internet, which allowed men who once felt isolated or misunderstood to find a community. However, instead of these places being a safe place for men to come to get good advice and to rely on one another, they come here to vent about their frustrations and struggles with dating, relationships, sex, you name it. And a lot of the ideas that are fueled in these spaces are harmful to women. Not all of them, but a good chunk of them. One of the key figures who embodies the darker side of the manosphere is Andrew Tate. Love him or hate him, but Andrew's rise as one of the most recognizable personalities within the manosphere speaks volumes about the impact these communities are having, especially on a younger audience. He's a self-proclaimed misogynist, which is someone who does not like women. And even though the things that he has said are absolutely disgusting, vile, and just evil, he still has a large following. And I'm gonna dive deeper into that in the next section of the video. But the scariest thing about Andrew isn't even the things that he has said, it's his impact and influence on all these young men and young boys. And on top of that, his influence on men does affect women. As I said, we're gonna discuss that later in this video. But first, I want to break down the key subgroups of the manosphere. So first off, we have men's rights activists, which is MRA. They argue that men are unfairly treated in areas like family courts when they're trying to get child custody, or even when it comes to false accusations, which sure, I understand those are are definitely valid concerns, because false accusations, they're bad. And if someone is lying, then it should come to light, of course. And if someone's innocent, their name should be cleared. So I totally understand that. So even though, yeah, some of the concerns are legit, a lot of the rhetoric starts leading into just blaming women for all of their problems, which is a common theme in the manosphere, as you'll see as we go throughout today's video.
I think that men's rights activists are only men's rights activists as a response to women expressing that they want more equality. I don't think they focus on actual men's rights issues.
The next subgroup is men going their own way. This one is pretty wild because these guys believe that men should completely disengage from relationships with women. Like no dating, no marriage, nada. However, I was curious if they still engage in sex because men are men. But what I saw is that some of them abstain completely, some of them still engage in it, but just not as much. So I guess it just depends on the person. But the overall goal is to disengage from women completely. So they started gaining traction in the early 2000s with a group of bloggers drafting manifestos calling for men to completely remove themselves from women and create a society where only men are involved. They're so against the idea of feminism that they cut ties with anyone who defends it or speaks up for women's rights. It's insane. Now, one of the main dangers here is their rhetoric. These guys spread misinformation about feminism and what it's really about, painting women's rights as some societal threat. Like they believe that if we give women rights, that society is gonna be doomed and the world's gonna end. That's what it's doing. The whole thing is designed to feed into a victim complex where men believe that they're the ones getting oppressed today. Not women, but men. They view modern Western society as corrupted by feminism, especially third wave feminism, which covers issues like intersectionality, body positivity, and gender role fluidity.
And this was important because it was the first time that feminism was in a conversation that I understood, because it wasn't in a big book that I couldn't read. It was just two fingers and two words: girl power.
Which are all important things that we should discuss and should advocate for, but they see it as corruption. They believe that feminism is stacked against men. So basically they believe that men are being pushed out of spaces in favor of women in places like the workplace, which makes no damn sense to me, but okay, and the legal system, and also in dating. And this reminds me of one of my friends, but not really a friend. Like, you know, people who you go to school with and you're cool with them, but you don't consider them a friend. So yeah, like I'll label him as that. But he's in the most privileged spot that he could be. You know, he's white and he's a man and he's straight. So, you know, he's up there. So it was just funny because I think we were applying to jobs or applying to schools. He was just complaining how everything is diversity, that there's like these scholarships and stuff, but they're only for, let's say, Black women or indigenous people. Like they were only making scholarships available to people of color, basically. And he was complaining about that. And I was like, oh, like what the hell? Like it was one of those things where I could have went off on him, but I was like, do I really want to do that right now? And do I have the energy to do that? I don't believe he was part of the manosphere. I don't think he has those ideas, but it was just very interesting to see him say that, to say the least. Okay, so the next one is pickup artists. I feel like this subgroup is semi-popular-ish. So if you have heard of the manosphere community, then you have probably heard of the pickup artist. So these guys are all about teaching men how to attract women by using tactics to manipulate women. They've got their whole game down to a science. Basically, this whole thing is built on the idea that women are prizes to be won. And that's when you start to side-eye them, man. You know, it's a little bit shady because it seems like there is a huge lack of respect for women and their boundaries. They use psychological tricks, flattery, or manipulative tactics to get women to date them or sleep with them. One of their popular strategies is called negging, which is where you insult someone to lower their confidence.
And I've had some of y'all dusty, musty, busty men try this with me.
But you did not succeed because the devil is a liar. So I had a talking stage with this one guy, but it never went past that. We just talked, never even met up. Literally, it was just through text, phone calls. That's it. We had mutuals who knew each other and they linked us up. So we're like, okay, cool, let's chat. We never got to the dating stage and never even went on a date. So just keep that in mind. He would constantly take jabs at me and then just say he was joking. And I could take a joke because trust me, I'm a person who loves to joke around. I love to insult my friends, but obviously in a good nature, because that's how me and my friends communicate. That's how I communicate with my sister. That's just how it is. But you have to get to a level. If I don't know you, we're not dating, why the hell are you insulting me? You know what I'm saying? I can't remember everything he said, but one time he was like, I liked your other hairstyle before, because y'all know I switch up my hair a lot. So he was just saying that, oh, your hair that you have is nice, but I like the other one better. Like, okay, cool. It's like you're trying to compliment me, but also not. Then he would just straight up call me stupid sometimes. Like, are you stupid? Like, do I know you? Like, I don't even call my friends stupid because dumb and stupid to me, they just hold different degrees of, I don't know, seriousness, if that makes sense. Or what's the word? I can't think of the word, but even though dumb and stupid mean the same thing, it's different. But let me tell you what pushed me over the edge and made me block him, because I was like, I'm tired of you. I was coming back from an event. I don't know if it was a party or maybe I went to get dinner with one of my friends. So I was coming back, I was on the train going home. So I was messaging him and we were talking and it was normal. Then he's like, oh, like, can I see how you look? Like, so I just took like a selfie because I was sitting down on the train, so I couldn't take a full body. So I just took a half selfie and I was just wearing like a dress. If I could find a photo in that dress, I will show y'all. But either way, I don't even have to explain myself because I don't care. And then he's like, yeah, like it's nice, cool. Literally out of nowhere, the conversation was going so normal. Maybe he was insulting me a little bit. I don't know, girl, couldn't tell you. But out of nowhere, this man calls me the W word. Well, actually the H word, but let me spell it out. W-H-O-R-E. That's what he called me. Not even the H-O-E. It's just like the word stupid and dumb. Even though they mean the same thing, one is just more rude. Just like the word he called me. The word W-H-O-R-E sounds worse than the word H-O-E. I hope y'all can spell because I know I can't say the word on YouTube. Then he apologized. He's like, sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I didn't know I pushed your boundaries. I won't do it next time. Now I know where your boundaries are, so I'm not going to push them, blah, blah, blah. Things like that. But at that point, I was completely turned off because we never went on a date. He was consistently insulting me with very little compliments, but then he would just try to backtrack. And it was just very like, girl, get out of my face. So I low-key, high-key feel like what he was doing fits into negging and what the pickup artists do. I have no idea if he actually follows the manosphere and follows these tactics, but that's what it was giving. And it did not work on me. Period. And there's this book called The Mystery Man where it teaches men to successfully become pickup artists and be able to get any woman that they want. This is one of the quotes from the book. Let me read it to you. Get as close to the breaking point as you can without crossing the line. When you reach the point where she's about to retaliate, start appreciating things about her, but not her looks. If you do accidentally offend her completely and she complains about your behavior, this isn't recommended, but it also doesn't necessarily preclude you from mating. What the hell? Allow her to vent her emotions by voicing her opinion of you entirely first. Then say, I'm monumentally sorry. I didn't mean to overstep your boundaries. I intended to find them. Now that I know where they are, I promise I will not cross them again. I'm sorry. From there, the game is on. What the heck? When I read that quote, I was like, that is literally what that guy was doing to me. Have y'all experienced this? Please let me know in the comments down below because I would love to know. I just can't believe that his response was so similar to this book quote. It kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies, not gonna lie, but y'all stay safe out there. Another strategy that pickup artists use is called peacocking. It's basically when you're dressing to stand out. Men do this because they want to stand out from other men and attract women. Basically try to beat out their competition. I was trying to find the success rate of peacocking to see how much men are actually getting women by just dressing very bold, but I couldn't find it. So if you know the answer to that, let me know in the comments down below. The next subgroup I want to talk about is the red pill community. And this one is definitely more darker than the previous ones I mentioned. These guys believe that men need to wake up to the harsh realities of gender dynamics. And the term red pill comes from the movie The Matrix, which was released in 1999. The movie follows a hacker named Neo who realizes that his whole reality is a lie. He learns that the world he lives in is actually a computer simulation called The Matrix, created by intelligent machines to enslave humanity while using their bodies as an energy source. In the film, the red pill is a symbol of truth and awakening, and Neo is offered a choice between two pills. So if he takes the blue pill, then he will remain in the illusion of the Matrix, continuing his normal life without ever knowing the truth. But if he takes the red pill, then he will wake up to the real world, escaping the Matrix and seeing reality as it truly is. The red pill community on the internet has taken this concept and twisted it, using the red pill as a metaphor for what they see as waking up to the supposed reality that men are oppressed and women hold power in modern day society. However, this is a distortion of the original meaning in the Matrix, which was more about questioning systems of control rather than gender dynamics. This community sees feminism as harmful, and they believe that men have to wake up to the reality that women are in control.
All of these red pill dudes talk about how much these girls are absolute and then they still sleep with them.
Fear women, fear, 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 and then come to me so I can take that fear away and buy my course.
Take me back to the days where men were real men, just like real strong, grown-up men.
They took it from us, bro.
They argue that women are naturally manipulative and are hypergamous, which means that you're dating someone of higher status than you. So because of this, men have to work extremely hard to keep building their wealth, their status, and they have to build muscle and confidence to be considered desirable to women. Then we have the darkest side of the manosphere, black pill and incels. So these guys think that attraction is all based on genetics. So if you don't have good genetics, basically you're doomed. It's definitely giving a nihilistic vibe, which basically means that you reject all religious and moral principles in the belief that life is meaningless. This community in particular is a breeding ground for men to spew their hatred towards women and their resentment, and it's definitely problematic. By 2016, a lot of incels moved past the red pill community and into the black pill community. The black pill community takes the whole women control everything narrative to a higher level. They don't believe that they can change their circumstances. They don't believe that they could work out, get muscle, do this, and become an alpha male. They feel like their fate is locked in by their genetics, so they can't do anything about it. Men in the black pill community, they're often encouraged to take their own lives or to take others' lives. Some men in this community just accept their fate and spiral into self-hate, while others see violence as a way to fix the system, which has happened many times. There are so many names I can name right now, but I'll talk about them in the next section. Also, if you didn't know, the term incel stands for involuntary celibates. This basically means someone who wants to be in a sexual or romantic relationship but can't because they believe that society, their genetics, or other external factors are holding them back. The term originally just described lonely people who were struggling with dating, but over time and with the internet, these incel communities have turned toxic. I also want to note too that in the show Adolescence, which I referenced earlier in this video, Jamie, who unalived his classmates, he was called an incel by her. But that's just important to keep in mind because even though the show is fiction, it's still a reflection of society and where we're at. But here's the thing, these extreme views do not represent the whole of the manosphere. It is just a small portion, but that small portion of people are still committing acts of violence against women, against society, and just promoting very harmful ideologies. Not every guy in these spaces are radical, but these subgroups do make a lot of noise and perpetuate harmful narratives about women. So let's take a closer look at why these communities are so controversial and also take a look at the influencers who are pushing these ideas into the mainstream. Let's keep going with this video. Part 2, the many controversies of the manosphere. Figures like Andrew Tate, Kevin Samuels, and even Jordan Peterson have pushed the ideals of the manosphere into the mainstream, influencing millions of men and women. But they do all have their own takes. I would say that Andrew leans more into the hyper masculine dominance, and Kevin Samuels, he focuses on high value men and relationship dynamics. Jordan Peterson, he frames it more as a crisis of masculinity and societal structure. So while their views aren't identical, they've all contributed to a broader conversation about gender roles, dating, and male identity. So let's start with Kevin Samuels. He was a controversial internet personality who made a name for himself by giving out brutally blunt takes on relationships, dating, and the so-called high-value men. He blew up on YouTube for his live streams where he would literally rank women, especially black women, on their looks and dating potential, basically telling them if they were aiming too high. His whole thing was that women needed to be realistic about what type of man that they could attract based on their age, appearance, and lifestyle.
You want to know why you can't get a man? Ma'am, you're 30. You're 30, you're old. Let me see your face. Ooh, you are a 4 at best. And you got a gut, you're fat. All right? You got kids too? Oh, hell no. You're gonna die alone.
There's a lot of divide when it comes to Kevin Samuels. A lot of people support him and feel like he was just being honest and telling women the truth, while others just view his takes as harmful and they view him as a misogynist. He was big in the manosphere because he promoted traditional gender roles and said that men should be the dominant force in relationships. He passed away in 2022, but his influence and most of his viral clips are still all over the internet. There's this one clip where Kevin is on a live stream with Kendra G. She's also another creator, and he's basically trying to pressure her into answering his question, which is, what age should a woman be married? Just how the video starts and the way he's talking to her, it's clear that he's not really looking for her to answer. He's trying to move the conversation to his usual talking point, that younger women don't trust older women because older women are refusing to tell them the truth. The truth, according to him, is that a woman who chooses to put her career first and go after it is ruining her chances for motherhood and marriage. I'm not going to play the actual video because it looks like him and his team or legal defense are cracking down on people who show his videos, so I'm not going to actually play it, but I hope I described it well. I can also link it down below so you can watch it for yourself. But what he did here was a classic Kevin Samuels move. He'll ask a question that seems open-ended, but when the guest is not answering the way he wants, he's going to keep pushing them to answer in that way, or he's just going to make the guest look like they're wrong for not agreeing with him. And there's another video that really irks my spirit, like, oof. In this clip, he's asking a single mother, why would anybody want you? So then she starts to list off the reasons. She's saying things like she's smart, intelligent, she has a business and it's successful and she can take care of herself. So she's saying things like that. But then Kevin says that you sound like a dude. Which man is gonna want you? The most shocking thing about the video was the comments, to be honest, because literally everyone agreed with him. There was no hate comment. If I didn't explain it right, basically Kevin is saying because this lady is independent and can take care of herself and also has a successful business, he's saying that she sounds like a dude. So apparently women cannot have successful businesses and be a boss and be independent. Like what? Like, do you see how outdated his thinking is? But people still agreed with him. I'll read some comments. One person said, men are looking for wives, not husbands. So basically implying that a woman with a strong personality and who is career driven is acting like a dude and is therefore unattractive. She would not like me. Another comment said, women think their possessions make them attractive, which is so interesting because men love to call women gold diggers, that they're only in it for the money. Yet when a woman has her life together, has her bills paid, has a job, has a career, has a business, now she's acting like a dude. So what do you want? Do you want someone who has their own money or who doesn't? Like, do you see that the logic is not logicking? The crazy thing too is that in this economy, one income is not enough, especially for a family. Like even just surviving yourself on one income is hard, but for two people to survive on one income, that is hard. Unless you're a millionaire or you're just very wealthy and privileged, then slay to you. But a lot of these men, at least in this community, they're not that. So that's why I'm very confused. So you want to be the breadwinner because you find it unattractive if your lady knows how to work and make money. But do you even have the money to support the both of you? Like, huh? I just hate when men and people in general call women masculine for just being independent and being able to take care of themselves. In life, you should never have to rely on someone, never have to depend on someone. Have your own stuff so literally no one can hold you hostage. No one can do anything to you. Obviously, it's easier said than done, but it is important to work up towards that. So no one can hold anything or dangle anything above your head like, I make the money, so you're gonna do what I say. You know what I'm saying? I would rather mop the ocean than depend on a man. So that's why I hate when men say that, because you're not about to trick me. You cannot trick me. Then there was another comment that said, these women would open a store and sell what they want instead of what the customer wants, then wonder why they have no customers. This metaphor is crazy, but the message is clear. They see a relationship as a business transaction where women should be selling what men want, such as youth, submission, and femininity, whatever the hell that means. It's just more of the same rhetoric, basically saying that women should mold themselves to be desirable to men, and if they don't, that they deserve to be single. It's ridiculous. Kevin Samuels was definitely a polarizing figure, no doubt about that. And he built his brand about tough love, but it literally was not tough love. It was just to humble women, to bring them down, to tear down their self-esteem, and to just promote toxic masculinity. And I'm so mad that these women went on his podcast or show and literally asked him for advice, and on top of that, let him rank them. And yet, despite his controversy and problematic views, he was and still is popular. He has almost 2 million subscribers on YouTube and over 1 million followers on Instagram. His fans saw him as someone who was finally telling the truth to women, while critics, like myself, just see him as another mouthpiece for misogyny dressed up as self-improvement advice. Okay, so now let's talk about Jordan Peterson. So he is a clinical psychologist and a former professor who gained fame with his opposition to compelled speech laws in Canada. He was a professor at the University of Toronto, but he did do research and he taught at Harvard Harvard University. What really propelled him into the mainstream is his book, The 12 Rules for Life, and his endless takes on gender roles, masculinity, and societal hierarchies. His whole thing is about order and chaos, where he frames masculinity as order and femininity as chaos, which does reinforce the idea that men should dominate and women should submit. Very outdated ideas. He is trying to set us back like 50 years. In fact, all of these influencer manosphere people are, but he just does it in a way where, because he's educated, he uses his academics, his credentials to say all this rubbish, and he just makes it sound more professional and sophisticated and just academic. So it kind of confuses people and you think, oh, maybe he's right because he sounds smart, but realistically, no. He's just spewing the same thing that all these other manosphere people are, just that he's an academic. One of his favorite things to say to young men is to clean your room before you try to fix the world, which is fair and makes sense, but his audience takes it way further. Many of his followers are disaffected young men who feel lost in modern society, and they latch onto his worldview that feminism has gone too far and that traditional gender roles are the natural order of things. One of the questionable things that he has said, which has been heavily debated, is that Jordan believes that enforced monogamy is the way to prevent men from being violent. Monogamy, if you don't know, is the practice or state of being married to one person at one time. You don't have multiple wives, multiple husbands, you just have one wife, one husband, one boo thing. Period. That's what you got. So he's not trying to make monogamy forced, like he doesn't want it to be an actual law where people have to abide by, but just to promote it, to reduce social instability, and to have a good environment to raise children. He claims that this helps regulate male aggression, so when men are with their partner, with just one partner, they're less aggressive. This point has been heavily debated, so a lot of people don't agree with him. And one thing I will say is that when it comes to monogamy, if you're forcing someone to do it, it's just gonna end in problems, so might as well just leave them. If they don't want to be monogamous, up to you, boo. Also, when he says that men are less aggressive when they're just with one partner, I don't know about that, because I mean, I've seen stories where men unalive their partners, their wives, children, or whatever. They're still aggressive even though they are monogamous. So I don't really get that, to be honest. But when it comes to that, if you want to be monogamous, be it. If you don't want to be it, don't be it. His takes on gender dynamics have also drawn a lot of criticism. He believes that the reason why men and women have different career outcomes is because of their personal choices, not because of discrimination. He doesn't believe in discrimination. Of course, a white man doesn't. He's also made extremely wild claims that women wear makeup to stimulate arousal, implying that if they wear makeup and complain about harassment, it's hypocritical. How does that make sense? And this type of rhetoric has led to accusations of victim blaming because it does sound like it. It is concerning too because of his status. I know he's not a professor anymore, but he's highly educated. I'm assuming he's also wealthy as well, but he's just considered very established and a lot of people look up to him, yet he's spewing so much hate. Crazy. Despite all of his problematic remarks, he still has a solid following. He has over 8 million followers on YouTube and Instagram. He'll say things like the patriarchy isn't real or that white privilege is a lie, but he packages it in a way that makes him seem like a deep thinker rather than just another conservative guy mad at progressives. His fans, especially young men, eat up what he says because he tells them that they're not the oppressors, that they're simply victims of cultural Marxism. He just likes using fancy words to try to confuse people, like, sir, no, like, no. But I'll break it down and explain it very quickly for you. Marxism was all about economics. So Karl Marx, he believed that the world was divided between the rich, you know, the Elon Musk's of the world, and the working class. And he wanted to dismantle capitalism so wealth and power could be redistributed. So now cultural Marxism is a spin-off on that idea. But instead of focusing on class struggle, it applies the same concept to culture. So it suggests that different social groups such as men versus women, white people versus minorities, straight people versus the LGBTQ plus community, basically that they're in a power struggle, and that left-wing academics, activists, and the media are trying to overthrow traditional values. Really, they're just sexist, homophobic, and racist, but they believe that the left wing is trying to overthrow all of those values in favor of progressive ones. So basically it sounds like the privileged are just trying to find ways to be the victims. Love that. But going back to Jordan's favorite line where he tells young men to clean their room before trying to fix the world, it hits different when you know that Jordan himself has his own major struggles that he should be working on before trying to fix the world and commenting on heavy topics and politics and culture. It has been reported that he has had an issue with drugs. I don't know if it is resolved now or what the update is on, but a lot of people brought it up, especially with how he criticizes women and how he tells men to clean up the rooms before trying to fix the world. They believe that he's a hypocrite because he's saying all these things to clean up yourself and then try to fix the world or whatever, fix the world, yet he clearly has some things to work on. Maybe it's resolved now, but even before he resolved it, he was still spewing all of these ideas, which has propelled him as one of the faces of the manosphere. Next, I want to talk about the infamous Andrew Tate. Andrew is easily one of the most recognizable faces of the manosphere. And it's because of the outrageous things he has said. So Andrew Tate is a former kickboxer turned social media personality who became famous for his controversial takes on masculinity, relationships, and success. He brands himself as a self-made millionaire and a role model for men, preaching a mix of extreme self-discipline, wealth building, and dominance over women. His content blew up because he knows how to be provocative, whether it's calling women property, saying depression isn't real, or just flexing his wealth. His influence skyrocketed once he pushed his Hustlers University program, which promised to teach young men how to get rich, but many critics called it a glorified pyramid scheme. Even though a lot of people called out this Hustlers University scam, he still received $2.5 million in crypto. So a lot of money. A lot of young men believe in Andrew Tate and they see him as this alpha, and low-key, I swear they see him as God at some points. They idolize him so much to the point where it's scary because of how harmful Andrew Tate's influence is on them. The things he says are evil, disgusting, and I'm going to actually quote some of them later in this section. He's been banned from multiple platforms for his misogynistic content, but this still hasn't stopped his reach. Many of his fans still repost his clips everywhere, keeping him relevant. It's also important to note that in 2022, him and his brother, I think his name is Tristan Tate, they were both arrested on human trafficking and rape charges, adding even more controversy to his name. Despite this, he still has a strong following who continues to promote his ideas on masculinity, money, and power. Andrew first gained attention from Big Brother UK in 2016, but he was removed after a video surfaced showing him allegedly assaulting a woman with a belt. But he has denied those claims, and I don't believe that video has ever been posted or seen. He openly calls himself a misogynist, claiming that women are lazy and that independent females don't exist. I even saw an article that said Andrew's influence on young men has been concerning enough for UK authorities to link it to radicalization. Isn't that not insane? And it is true though, because his influence has been massive. If you don't know about the Manosphere, I'm sure you've at least heard about Andrew's name. And he is so big to the point that the Adolescence, the British crime drama that I was referencing earlier, they literally brought him up by name. So it's definitely clear how far his reach goes, even into mainstream media and entertainment. His controversial views have sparked debates, but they've also fueled his popularity, especially with the younger audiences, which the show Adolescence seems to acknowledge. I mentioned before that he has been banned from multiple platforms, which is true. He was banned from Twitter, but once Twitter became X, his profile was reinstated. Mind you, Elon Musk bought Twitter, so Elon Musk is the owner of Twitter. Well, X. Just keep that in mind if you want to support Elon, because look at who he's giving an account back to. And the reason why Andrew's Twitter got banned in the first place is because he said that women should bear the responsibility of getting assaulted. And Elon still decided to reinstate his account. Just think about that before you buy a Tesla. I'm joking, I'm not hating on Teslas, but Elon Musk, no. Anyways, Andrew's legal problems do not end in Romania. He faces multiple lawsuits and allegations in the UK, including claims from women who say he assaulted them. He also admitted to running a webcam business where he manipulated women into working for him, later calling it a scam that preyed on desperate men. It's interesting that he says that because the same men who give him money, who idolize him and see him as this alpha mastermind are the same men that Andrew sees as desperate and gullible enough to fall for his scam. It's actually sad and scary and just alarming that his fans don't see the contradiction. I want to read some of the things that Andrew has said just so you can see how disgusting he is, because I know I'm saying it, but let me read you what he has actually said. I'm not saying they're property. He's referring to women. I am saying they are given to the man and belong belong to the man. He said this July 2022. You cannot be responsible for a dog if it doesn't obey you, or a child if it doesn't obey you, or a woman that doesn't obey you. July 2022. Women shouldn't vote because they don't care about the issues outside of how they feel. September 2024. Women are sex workers. Their primary job now is to find one customer called a boyfriend to pay for their entire lives in return for the kitty cat. If they fail at this, they do OnlyFans or Corn, the same game with more than one customer. If they're ugly, they work a job and are miserable. December 2024. Isn't that not like 3 months ago, 4 months ago? But wait, there's more. This is Andrew's response to if a woman is accusing her boyfriend or husband of cheating. It's bang out the machete, boom in her face, and grip her up by the neck. The date is unknown, but this is cited by the New York Times. Then this is what he had to say about Taylor Swift. I could easily F Taylor Swift and end her feminism-ish. Real GD moves. But she's ancient. Pyramids were brand new when she was born. 34? If you're a girl, why even live past 30 unless you have kids? He said this June 2024. I can't believe this actually came out of his mouth. I knew Andrew Tate was bad. I always knew that. But when I actually read the things he said, I couldn't believe it. I genuinely could not believe it. I'm so glad that he has been banned from most social media platforms, but it doesn't even matter because the damage has already been done. He's already infiltrated all of these young men, these boys. He's infiltrated their minds and they literally see him as a god and they believe everything he says. They support him. This made me curious as to what these men see in Andrew. Why do they look up to him as this alpha mastermind? Came across this video on YouTube where Andrew is saying that men are invisible to women. So the video is only a minute long, but there's a full-length video on YouTube because it's an interview between him and I forget the lady's name, but it's an hour-long video, but this is just a minute video. So basically in that video, Andrew is just saying that men are invisible to women. And he says that there's not a female on the planet who's invisible. You can be a 4, overweight, fat, and still go to the club and get attention. Andrew also went on to say that men can send 10,000 DMs on Instagram and still be ignored. Basically complaining that women don't give men attention. And that's my issue with a lot of these men. They say that they're nice guys and they can't find a girlfriend and blah, 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 and they just cry about it. But women don't owe you attention. They don't owe you anything. You could be the nicest guy on the planet, and if a woman does not want to talk to you or be with you, period, go find someone else that wants to be. I don't understand this moping and sobbing and being upset that women don't want to give you attention because we don't owe you anything. If we don't want you, we don't want you. Also, it's interesting that he says that men can send 10,000 DMs and get ignored and it's such a huge injustice. But what do those DMs contain? That's my question. Because half the time it's not no, hey, how are you? It's not polite. It's nothing like that. It's bullshit. Like, it's disgusting stuff. Like, girl, like, when I tell you before I did YouTube, my DMs were flooded with like nonsense. Like right now it's amazing because of you guys. So thank you for being in my DMs. But before that, I would get random DMs from guys like, hey, want to be my girlfriend? Or they'll just send you a picture without even asking. Or I had this one who was so creepy. He was like, yeah, I have a medical issue and I need you to sit on my face. I had to block him, and even though I blocked him, he literally made another account to try to talk to me again. And he went to my TikTok. I was like, what type of nonsense? Like, are you okay? Like, are you mental? So I had to block him everywhere, and I was getting nervous because I'm like, I hope this man is not gonna stalk me or anything like that, because I got time for that. But thankfully he's not. Let me knock on wood. But just weird. So before you start crying that women are not giving you attention, how are you approaching them? And at the end of the day, go find someone who does want you. If she doesn't want you, she doesn't want you. Also, I find it extremely interesting that they say that women can be ugly and still get attention from men. Half of the time, the attention is unwanted, it's disrespectful, and it's harassment. And y'all think that we should be grateful when men give us attention, even if it's disrespectful. I read the comments under this video, and this is what some people had to say. I am a man. I am an engineer. I am invisible. I feel I have no value in this world. I am 28, still alone. I am not handsome or beautiful. I am not able to attract any woman to me. He is right. Andrew is right. Another one said, so true. If you are a below average looking female, you can go to the club and get what you want. However, if you are a man, it is 100 times more difficult. Another one said, yet women have the nerve to complain. Then I saw this interesting comment which said, this dude is fighting for us average guys. And I'm here to tell you that no, he's not. He's not fighting for y'all. He's exploiting y'all. He knows that y'all are insecure and he is using that to his advantage. He literally said that his webcam business was to scam y'all, to scam desperate men. I feel like a lot of men that go to these spaces, they are looking for brotherhood, or they are looking for advice on how to improve themselves, maybe to become better at dating. So I think that's the thing. But I feel like a lot of them are insecure and maybe they're unsure of who they are, how they feel, how to attract women. And it's men like Andrew Tate who come in to be their leader, but he's spewing so much hateful things that it's not self-improvement. It's straight up just misogyny. And now it's influencing millions of young men and boys to adopt the same mindset that Andrew has. He's not teaching men how to build real connections or real confidence, emotional intelligence, or social skills. He's literally just feeding their resentment and making them believe that their lack of success with women is because women are evil, shallow, and hypergamous, not because of anything that they could improve themselves. So no, Andrew is not some hero for the average guys. He's a businessman who found a way to turn their insecurities into a paycheck. Some unhonorable mentions that I wanted to talk about in today's video, but I just didn't have enough time, are Sneako and Myron and Walter, who host the Fresh and Fit podcast. These men have said a lot of problematic things, very similar to the things that Andrew Tate has said. If I'm not mistaken, I think Sneako has dialed it down. I'm pretty sure he has, because I remember I watched a documentary of his career as an online creator. So I think he has dialed it down now, but it doesn't matter because the damage has already been done. I saw a clip of him on Twitter, which is X, where he was taking photos of fans. These boys were probably maybe 12 years old, maybe 13. I'm not really good at ages, but I feel like they were maybe 12 years old. And they were asking Sneako for a photo. So after one of the kids gets a photo with Sneako, he literally says, F woman. And after that, he said, F transgender people. When I saw this clip, my mouth literally dropped. So let me show you.
What did you say? Fuck the woman, fuck the woman.
What? No, wait. We love women. We love women. We love women.
But not like transgender.
Clip. You can even hear Sneako in the clip say, what have I done? He's laughing about it though, but seriously, sir, what have you done? It's really concerning to hear about moments like this where young people are influenced by influencers in a very negative way. Jaime in Adolescence is a perfect example of how these harmful ideologies, like those promoted by figures like Andrew Tate, Kevin Samuels, Jordan Peterson, and even Sneako, and also the guys on Fresh and Fit, how these ideologies can be harmful to young men. In the show, Jaime's experiences reflects how these harmful and toxic messages shape his worldview, especially in terms of his relationships with women and his own sense of identity, which led him to unalive his classmate because she was a girl. This topic is a lot, so I had to get y'all's help on Instagram. I'm NK's World on Instagram with 2 Ds if you want to be part of a future poll so we can kiki it up. But on Instagram, I asked, who's most to blame for the manosphere's growth? 18% of people said that social media algorithms are most to blame. Then 55% say that influencers like Andrew Tate are the driving force, which is facts because that's what I believe. These influencers, they have a very strong hold on the people who they influence, especially young people. We're seeing it in real life. We're literally seeing it in real time. Then there's 25% pointing to the lack of male support systems, which I think is definitely a huge factor. If men had stronger and healthier spaces where they could go to for support and advice, self-improvement, or things like that, then I feel like the manosphere wouldn't have such a strong hold on them. Because when you are insecure, you are more susceptible to toxic ideologies because you just don't feel sure of yourself. Those of you who voted for it swiped up, so I wanted to read some of your comments. So Michaela said, I do think influencers are to blame for making it worse, but to come across these influencers and have been influenced by them, the boys/men being influenced must have already had thoughts and opinions surrounding the manosphere beforehand, which more than likely came from a lack of male support systems and seeing how their fathers treated their spouses growing up. Beliefs are learned by how we are raised. Then Ocean said, I think most males lack guidance to navigate their lives. They're just living their lives when us women always had rules to go by, which aren't always the good ones. And the last one I wanted to read said, says, social media has been around forever, but ever since Andrew Tate appeared, it seems like everybody more confident about their views now. And that's tea. And I feel like those all kind of come together because Andrew Tate, he became popular very quickly. And he was able to become that popular because he had millions of people supporting him. Millions of men, young boys, just supporting him. I don't believe that he just magically appeared on the scene and brainwashed everyone to believe what he's saying. I do feel like some of them, maybe a lot of them, I don't know the ratio or the percentage, but a lot of them already felt this way, but hearing Andrew say it just made them feel seen and heard, and they decided to support him full stop. I know I did a lot of bashing in this video, but I can agree that men do go through their struggles. Just because you're a man doesn't mean you're immune to struggling. But instead of addressing that or creating safe places for them, it's all about be tough, be strong, don't cry, suppress your emotions. And that leads to feelings of insecurity, low self-esteem, and you're just looking for guidance. And then you find a community like the Manosphere, which makes you feel seen and heard, but it's not a safe place for men to go to. It's not a good place for them to go to because the rhetoric just blames women and it makes men view women in a harmful way. For the last answer, only 2% of you guys said that it's feminism's overreach. Clearly, a lot of you don't think this, and I would say I don't agree with this either, because to say that this is the sole reason why the Manosphere has grown, nah. So we know that the influence the Manosphere has had on young men is undeniable, but how has this affected women? Part 3, the effects on women. To be continued. For this section, I'm not going to go in the way I want to go in just because I feel like I've been talking for a long time. And as I was going throughout this video, I feel like it would make sense to have a second part to it. I cannot include everything about the Manosphere and its effects in one video because the video will be very long. So depending on how interested you guys are in this topic, I will make a follow-up. And I low-key do want to make a follow-up too, just for myself, because I feel like the topic is so big and I had so much more to say, so this section won't be as long as the others. Maybe, depends if I talk a lot. But if you have been listening, many of the ideas promoted within the Manosphere have reinforced rigid gender roles, transactional views of dating, and power dynamics that often frame relationships as a competition rather than a partnership. Concepts like high-value men and women, hypergamy, and the importance of submission has altered expectations on both sides of what it means to be in a relationship. The Manosphere has popularized the idea that men should be high value, and to be high value you have to have a lot of money, have status, and also be dominant. While women, on the other hand, they should focus on youth, submission, and beauty. That's considered a high value woman versus a high value man. I made a full video about a high value woman and man, how it's a scam, but that's one of my earlier videos, so proceed with caution because girl, it's a little bit cringy, but I feel like I still made some good points. Many of the Manosphere communities that I talked about in today's video, they view dating as a strategic game where men must manipulate social dynamics to win control over women. These ideologies don't encourage men to see relationships as something that is a mutual partnership. They make them see it as a game. Rollo Tomasi, who is one of the biggest names in the red pill community, he argues that exposing these so-called truths help men make better choices. So there's a video where he shares a story about a guy whose girlfriend read The Rational Male, which is a book that he wrote, and apparently the girlfriend said that the book is 100% the truth, but also said that men should not know these truths. So Rollo uses this as proof that the red pill is real and that men need to wake up to reality, but women don't want them to know the truth. I refused to buy the book because I was not trying to give this man money, but I did read summaries and reviews from other people who have read it, but apparently he pulls from sociology's principle of least interest, which basically says that the person who is least interested in the relationship holds the power. So he says that whether you try to view relationships through a power dynamic or not, it doesn't matter because the power dynamic is always there. I won't fully hate on him there because yes, that does make sense. If someone is not as involved in the relationship or interested in the relationship as the other person, sure, they do hold power because they don't care if the relationship continues or not. But at the same time, this mindset is straight up toxic. If you're constantly trying to win by caring less, are you even in a real relationship? Because there's literally no way to build a genuine connection and intimacy if you're trying to always care less and win the relationship, if that makes sense. I'm not gonna say who his connection is. To me, I kind of want to expose him, but I'll just say friend. But I had a friend, he literally told me that he cheated on his girlfriend, but she doesn't know, but he cheated on her because he wanted to have an up on her. He was like, if she says that she cheated on me, I already cheated first, so I don't care. Does that make sense? You can tell that a lot of these men, not all these men, but it's like they're scared to trust women, or they just don't want to get hurt. So they think that caring less, cheating, or doing things like that, similar to that, is what gives them the leg up. You'll never be able to have a true connection with someone if that's your mentality. And that's a shame, because you are robbing yourself of something that could be very beautiful and worth fighting for, but you don't want to do it. Rollo also argues that our culture pretends to see men and women as the same, but he thinks that's absolute BS. And this is mostly obvious in the sexual marketplace. That's what he calls it. So he said in his book, at age 23, while a girl is enjoying her prime value, a man is just beginning to make his own gradual ascent. By age 36, the average man has reached his own relative apex. It's at this phase that his professional appeal has reached maturity. He also argues that while women's value is tied to physical attractiveness, he says that men's value is tied to their money, their status, and their power. So in his view, a wealthy 50-year-old man holds more value in the dating market than an average 30-year-old guy, whereas aging does not work the same for women. And I will say that this is an unfortunate reality, because we do know that society, our culture, definitely ties a woman's value to how she looks. Well, a big part of her value. It shouldn't be this way, but the way that the media treats women who don't look good for their age or are older, it definitely feels like a woman's value is tied to her physical attractiveness. And it's not fair, because remember in the previous video where Kevin Samuels, he was telling the lady, because she has a business and she's independent, that she sounds like a dude. It's so limiting and draining for society to keep pushing this view that the only thing a woman can offer is her beauty, when there's so much more that we can offer. And it's just irritating, because being successful, accomplished, and a business owner is not reserved just for men. But this community, they keep pushing that idea, and it's ridiculous. I feel like we are kind of getting better, but we still definitely have a long way to go. I honestly feel like it's a trap when men try to rush women into getting married young, because they say that, oh, once you're like 30, you're past 30, no one's gonna care about you, no one's gonna want you. But really, it's just a way to trap you, hold you down, and not let you reach your full potential, period. That's what it is. So don't listen to their lies. Life does not stop after you're 30, and many beautiful, successful, wealthy, amazing women get married in their 30s, 40s, or 50s. And also, marriage is not something that every woman wants to do, but they act like it's your duty. But speaking of dating and how it affects women, I wanted to ask you guys a question on Instagram about this. I said, do you think the Manosphere content has made dating easier or harder? 78% of you said that dating is harder now. And I think we do know the reason why. The Manosphere definitely has affected this for sure. They're out here talking about high value men, high value women, but obviously the biggest thing is that they're promoting harmful ideas about women, but they're talking also about high value woman, high value man, and also spewing all this ideas about the prize, who's the prize, this, that, the third. It's ridiculous. Honestly, all this prize talk, I'm the prize, like, I mean, I might sound like a hater, but I honestly, like, I'm over it. I hate when people say that I'm the prize. Well, also it depends on what they mean by it, but the way I interpret it, I just feel like everyone thinks that they're the prize, like they're better than their partner, so their partner should behave right because that they're better than them. Because I don't see how you can build a meaningful relationship if you keep thinking that you're better than this person and that you're the prize that was won and that they're just whatever. It doesn't really make sense to me. Like, help explain. But anyways, only 2% said that dating's easier. Well, maybe if you're into traditional gender roles, then sure, it could be easier for you. But for the most part, it's outdated and a lot of us are not with it. And then we have 7% that said no change and 13% said it depends. Also, one of you swiped up. So Helen said, I think that the Manosphere men are so much more open about their beliefs. It makes it easier to avoid them in the dating scene. And that's true. Some of them might not be. They might be the pickup artists and try to be sneaky and try to get you. But I do feel like a lot of them are open about it and they feel more confident to be open about it because a lot of them already agree. It's like a brotherhood. They all agree with each other and they all support each other. And on top of that, they support Andrew. And I feel like Andrew does make them feel more confident in saying those things so you can know to avoid them. But thank you all so much for participating in these poll questions. As always, it makes these videos so interesting and I love getting your guys' input on the topics. So I wish I could have read more DMs, but don't you worry, in the future videos, I'm gonna try to read more and more and more. But anyways, if you want to be part of future poll discussions, please make sure you check me out on Instagram, NK's World with 2 Ds. Anyways, let's keep going with this video. So the manosphere doesn't just affect women when it comes to dating. It affects us in serious ways. As I said, a lot of these spaces revolve around blaming women for not getting any poom poom or why they feel unfulfilled in their life. But the truth is that these ideas don't only affect women, which they definitely do, but they also affect men. When you're constantly told that all the problems in your life are because of women and that to win you need to dominate, manipulate, or distance yourself emotionally, it messes with your sense of self-worth. It creates a toxic cycle where men are encouraged to shut down emotionally and treat relationships like a game, rather than valuing them as real, reciprocal connections. And that's not just bad for your relationships, it's also bad for your mental health. Because I'm telling you, you're missing out on something that could be so beautiful, but you're choosing to emotionally distance yourself from your partner. Instead of focusing on real issues like emotional intelligence, communication, or personal growth, the manosphere pushes the narrative that the problem is always the other person, usually a woman. And this doesn't just alienate people, it stunts growth. If men are conditioned to blame women for every single problem in their life, this prevents them from actually finding ways to address these issues and to improve their life. It's a cycle that benefits no one and just harms women. What happened in the show Adolescence has happened in real life and will probably continue to happen if things are not done. The manosphere weaponizes male loneliness, sells hate as empowerment, traps boys in a cycle of blame. And women are the scapegoats, they're the targets, and too often they're the victims. But the solution isn't just to delete Andrew Tate. It's about redefining masculinity before there's more Jamies that are lost. I'm gonna end the video here, but there's a lot more that I want to say, but the topic is just a lot. It's a little bit draining to talk about this, but it is important to cover, and I also was really inspired after watching Adolescence. So anyways, let me know if I should make a follow-up to this video. Let me know your thoughts on this topic, and thank you so much for everyone who did participate in the polls, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!